different building, but the seminars were amazing. One of our friends, Carrie, was there. We had a great time. And so I learned a lot. It's always about learning something that you didn't know. This is called my look back. Time and time again I looked back, and time once more. I was beyond the looking glass by then, Alice. And the meadow waved its fruit trees. The autumnal flowers were cornered and drying, and the festive feast enjoyed by deer-like creatures on the rolling hills about. The reflection in the pond portrayed a sliver of moon and stared back at me, explaining in whispers that I had been homesick 20 years and wished secretly for a more spirited life. The shiny, studded, hourglass watch fell from my wrist as I mused, crumbling and spilling its dust, signaling my exit from the byway. Out of the darkness, off the long stretches of concrete and steel, where the wild-eyed truckers rolled on and hid their pained and vacant eye sockets with cheap shades. Well above, on distant moonlit plateaus, coyotes screamed over another bloody overdose victim who danced and drank himself to suicide, having stood too near the bonfires. By morning, though, verdant trees formed, as if by solar-powered magic, informal yet untamed rows. I drove into the new dawn and parked under a mild rain. I never looked back. So this piece, so I think my dad passed away 11 years ago, something like that. And I've always been trying to capture and put down what he means to me, and I could never do it. It goes with aunts, uncles. Anytime I try to write about the family, these are failures. This poem is still not perfect, but it's been through about 12 revisions, okay? And if I could characterize waking up in the morning and getting ready to start my day and what my dad might say to me, this might be part of it. All through my life, and this is kind of a funny story. The day I decided to become a creative writing major and go to BGSU, I had this moment in the living room where I wanted my dad to challenge me so much because it was impractical. I wanted him to say, but son, what about law school? But son, what about dentistry? But he didn't. I said, okay, that's what you want to do. Go do it. And so while I fussed over that, being 18, wait a minute, is that the right thing to do? But being an artist is not easy. Being a starving artist is hard. To try to balance that desire for creativity at every moment and be at the top of your game and fulfill that need, which I know I have. I'll always have that. But also put food on the table. Be part of the family, do all of these other aspects in life. But my dad was always there from the day one to the end of his life. He always supported me with my writing. No matter what else was going on, and trust me, we were not easy on each other. He was a hard guy to work with. I worked with him for 12 years as a plumber. I lived with him for a while. But every time we talked about this, he was supportive. He was happy. He liked the fact that I did this. So that's the one thing I will say about him. I'm fortunate in that way. He paid for my college in those younger years. So many of my relatives and friends never had that opportunity. So I give my dad a lot of credit there. And this is called an ardent, unflinching desire. An ardent, unflinching desire is now required of you to topple the countless misty and mystical anthills of our collective societies, to place greasy, gritty palms on the summit's peak to gaze out on an immortal realm. At day's first blush, we silence the alarm clocks humming on our dusty nightstands, pull our weary bones from slumber's stupor, put the dogs out, and idly march toward another day. Once in a great while, our restless minds will stir a bit, They're hastened by distant bell chimes, buses, and fast, unstoppable trains that rush through faraway territories which we've always longed to know. Some will go exploring, but sadly some will not. To you of the latter disposition I offer this advice. Find within you the gift of a deeper, braver courage. Head toward everlasting light, for an ardent, unflinching desire is now required of you. So I've reached an impasse, not an impasse, I've changed my style to such a degree this year in writing that I'm able to mask any situation or feeling or problem with metaphor and heavy image so that it's not me anymore. Okay? So this, in some sense, is the flip side of the coin. My dad was one side, my evil mother was the other side, right? And so this is categorically, if we were to embellish on how I feel about my mother when I was 8 years old, this might get to it. Now, I wrote another poem called The Oedipal Honeycomb also, but I didn't bring that yet. That's for next time. But this is, so this is kind of a sad story, but trust me, I'll lighten it up with some poems afterwards. But this is called Secret Shield, and this is totally fiction. Okay, these are not true events. Please don't take it that way. With the gap-toothed grin of the common rat, my mother is a month of savage, rainy Sundays, as she stands before me in her bloodied apron, vehemently shouting, waving strong fists of fury. I'm struck on my bare ass with her roaring striker, sent to my room crying without even a prayer for love. She caught me humming folk songs in the garden again and would have none of it. I attempt to hide behind the furnace in our basement where cobwebs cling to my hair and sting my face. Mother's calloused hands are weapons doling lasting bruises and painful skull lumps. Her fingernails carve jagged scars across our innocent arms and cheekbones. She boils a pot of white rice, only to fling sticky rice at her hungry children. Mother cracks sandcastles over knees with maniacal laughter. She invades our dreams at nighttime, yet still I sing. My father has gone far, far away. He is overseas in the onion fields with a rifle and a knife. When all is sometimes quiet, in the darkness, I run my little bruised hands along the smooth edges of my brother's crib as he sleeps, still as an iron girder, under a dry-rotted, moldy blanket. Always when I hear Mother's heavy footsteps approaching, I pray and hold my mush-mouse doll close to my chest. It is my secret shield as I prepare for battle. On a lighter note, right? So when I was in college, I'm giving you guys a lot of backstory, but some of you know it, some of you don't, but you will. When I was in college, I was in love with a woman. She was the love of my life, right? So I dated her for 2.5 years. Her name was Amy. And it ended tragically and sadly, not with death or violence or anything like that, just we went our separate ways. And I always wondered, what if? What if I would have decided to drop out of college and maybe marry her or something? Why didn't I do that, And but I was young and dumb and selfish, and it was the 80s, so we were all thinking about ourselves and how we could do our own thing, right? And but she was the one that got away. And so I've got a couple poems that I've kind of imagined our lives together, and I think about her a lot, through the years. She's really the one standout. And I've been with a couple girls, but so anyway, this one's called Murmur. It's based on the first REM album that came out about that time, and they were a college radio band. We all loved them. This is Murmur. I drop myself into corners without sounds, lost in poetic ambitions, but I'm ready to slide into gracious overtones of unending kindness when she lets herself in the front door and slips her royal blue umbrella into the crevice behind our antique bookshelves. Amy's leather boots are deliciously snug as I undress her slowly. She's back from her sister Mary's baby shower. A delicate smudge of cream frosting clings to the soft curls of her golden hair. Her elder sister will bear twins in late October. Fully contented, Amy gazes out the kitchen window. Her singular quest tonight is to wrap strands of rose-colored yarn around a copper spool as a meditation. Her dreams reside ever here with me, through a billion starlit nights, wherein serenity and peace abound in equal measure. She's married now. She has 5 kids. Her parents hated me. But she introduced me to Rally's Fries. I had never heard of a Rally's, so I went to Hamilton, Ohio one weekend, and she said, we got to go get Rally's because their fries are great. And she was right. Anyway, this is another Amy poem. This is The American Dream relived with me as Ken and her as Barbie. It's called Tears of a Clown and Sir Duke. My favorite person in the whole of existence pokes her head up through the endless rows of tall, orange Siberian wallflowers, while streams of sunlight cast their dwindling shadows through opulent trees and two-tone leaves rustle symphonic above us. A swarthy squirrel carefully negotiates his Byzantine course of pebbles on a nearby path. On the radio, the DJ spins 2 Motown tracks, Tears of a Clown, followed by Sir Duke. Without hesitation, still gritty and warm from our labor, we can join, grind, and press our heated bodies together the way young couples do through any given evening, in any given farm town, on any normative sphere. So let's do 2 more and then we'll take a bathroom break. Sound good? Mm-hmm. Take a water break. So this one is a little more playful. Kind of in the style of Alice in Wonderland or Peter Pan. This is called Mauve. Pitching off like bags of boulder bones, garage band cacophonies and discontentedness for soft banana pancakes and wild escapades in the tropical banyan trees of the higher mind. Feeling a gusto hitherto unknown, and better than a series of naked, flawless kidnappings, presenting no less a mauve-colored heart balloon, parachuting like a sugar pea into a cloudless teacup. And you and I pause for 28 minutes to observe the curiously detailed work of rambling honeybees, and forthwith all pain subsides in the tiny, round, devious lemon pill I just slipped into your palm. Take it. Beneath a balmy, talismanic sun, the scenery is nothing if not mauve. So let's take 5 minutes and just get cookies and coffee and talk, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. This picks up on the story, you know, growing up in a single-parent home and not having that bond with Mom early on, it was a struggle to form my own relationships with women. In fact, you know, at that point, my dad was really the only bachelor of 10 kids. Everyone was married. Real traditional family, right? He was the oldest of 10. He was the only bachelor. Subsequently, as it turns out today, of all the original cousins, of which there were 40 on that side,
Wow.
Being the third oldest.
Yes.
And I'm not. My brother Sam and I are really the only two that haven't gotten married.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
still on my bucket list. But it's been a struggle in that way. So that kind of gives you some insight. You know, my dad was always, he didn't teach us about the institution because he didn't have a very fond thought process when it came to marriage, right? So, but anyway, I'm an adult now. I take care of my own choices. But so this kind of encapsulates, I guess, a young boy's fantasy life about what women are about. Okay, trying to figure that out. So I've used icons for role models that this young boy is observing. So it's called Speaking of Passions. Motherless orphan boys seek surrogate love interests as they are still forming baby teeth and simple sentences. Feed me, change me, give me a toy to pacify me. Straight arrows, astronaut dreamers, silver nights surrounding pretend world Camelot. Little men driving Hot Wheels Corvettes into dangerous Barbie doll funhouse parking lots. Everything revolves around Legos and baseball cards until they catch a glimpse of the babysitter's bikini as she lounges poolside one summer day. From then on, these boys feel strange emotions creeping over them like fever chills. Wet dreams replace bedtime stories. They shave peach fuzz faces, splash on cologne, attend school dances where nervously and awkwardly they approach a punch table decked with balloons and buttermints. Everything is thrust into silver light in the gymnasium and music begins to play. They shyly align themselves along walls, preparing to ask their crushes to dance. Hot and dangerous temptations ensue. My first lust was for Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction. I was a wayward wolf, adrift on seas of madness, new hormones ebbing and coursing through me like that first glass of royal raspberry wine. I sprinted into mad, passionate first love at 19, and I fell hard, dissolving into phoenix flames, my heart torn wide open. I shot into the skies like a firework and allowed myself to fall and fizzle, whirling. In maturity, I fell for more bookish, intelligent lovers. Margaret Atwood's artistry taught me quickly that powerful women could be brave, successful, and no longer brash. There and then, I learned to respect grace and gentleness. Yet it was Madonna I held up as the shining example of ultimate feminine beauty. She had it all. This is an inherent fact. For what man in his right and proper mind would not take a bite of the apple if she offered? I ask you sincerely, what man? All right. A few more. This is some of my funnest stuff ever. It's varied and it's. I come to terms with this every day, very early on in my day. This is what I love to do. If I were on an island with food and a typewriter, I think I'd be okay for many, many decades. This is what drives me. This next piece is a historical metaphor, where you are the audience here, you're imagining yourself as the main character. It's called You Were Einstein in Another Life. You were Einstein in another life, surrendering fully your hands, stuffed into oversized pockets. Your wife, Mileva, watching tears roll down your finely calm and gentle face. She was leaving on a train that very night, a night of heavy rains and oblivion thunder, and you were torn. Should you spend these last few moments skulking off to the study, where you have toiled endlessly over handwritten notes for days? Or should you sit with your dear family, speak soft words, offer a reassuring smile, and show them how much you love them? You were truly torn. But as you stood at the intersections of two low-lit rooms finishing your tea, the riddle was answered for you. Your son Tate ran down from his room, rushed to you, wrapped your ankles tightly, and Milova's gaze then held gentle wisdom. It was as if a veil had surely been lifted, as if 12 incandescent light bulbs burst on in your mind, and a cosmic energy shot out in 1,000 directions at once, a raw energy, inexplicable by the sciences of the age and human logic alone. This is a rather short poem. It's so I'm seeing here it's like 12 lines. And I wrote this poem in Bowling Green in the 80s. And it's been through, I shit you not, probably 30 to 50 revisions. Right? There's probably 100 words here. I've never gotten it right. But it's still here, and it's still active, right? So let's see what we can do with it. It's called Sidewalks. Jennifer is lost in the pages of Madame Bovary, her face hidden no less as I come to call on her the third Friday in November, waiting patiently in the low-lit dormitory lobby. It's a game of hide-and-seek she plays. All the roaming danger girls pass by in droves, on their way to fast elevators and the quickening night, only to come face to face with the most luminous autumn in recent history. They seem quite equipped to meet the possibilities of forever love, as a billion lucent maple-colored leaves scuttle and do their crazy dance-abouts. This one I wrote about 6 months ago. It's inspired by the guy who growing up was in this shitty band called the Boomtown Rats. And but then, so he did this great solo album I had in college, Bob Geldof. Mm-hmm. So he was the mastermind behind Live Aid, right? So maybe one of the greatest events in our lifetime, to be honest. I had it all on beta videotapes, all 25 hours of it or whatever. But anyway, I was listening to his album when I wrote this, and so his poetry inspired mine. It's called Mistress. Into the broken slats I slid by the light of a cherry moon, the braided knots of a wooden fence wearing and tearing me, and setting me right off as they carved dimensions across my dandy new shirt. I sprinted then, barefoot and sure, to the crisp white edges of Farmer Pete's field. I made orbit around 5 dimly lit yards to arrive at the ice-laden doorsteps of the glorified, moonlighting mistress. She sat atop her Barker lounger, smartly tailored in paisley, her silver blue spectacles folded neat on a pine wood table where the refined glass lamps burned brightly. And there stacked too were paperbacks, a few. Eliot, Whitman, Camus, respectively. Three more. This piece was going to be kind of the centerpiece of my next book, which I have a GoFundMe for. And it's called Quaking Through the Lilies. And the book was almost going to be titled Buddhist Bluegrass, because that's what this poem is, but we'll see. You can always change your title at the last minute, you don't care. So this is Buddhist Bluegrass. It's about the muse. We all write poems about our muses, I think. I bear daydreams extensive and varied, as all the chords the spider muse discloses. I'll be arranged niftily in my wooden shack, rereading Annabel Lee with one flimsy leg over the other, reveling in old ambitions and my own poetic ambitions. After a time, I feel the cool hand of loneliness upon me, just as I'm about to fade into obscurity. And suddenly, from somewhere, and without fail, a wild violin cries and Buddhist bluegrass spills out and sugarcoats the whole of the framework. Perhaps it's the spider muse, musing from her beguiling web. So this one is also from my Bowling Green days. It was in my first book called Learning to Write, which was a collaboration with Mr. Schmidt from Northfield. And we got a $500 grant from the Arts Commission to put that book out. This was in 2004, 3? 2003, I think.
Wow.
It might have been the last time they did that. But we got 200 copies made in a little press in Ann Arbor, and half the poems were mine, and they were in the first half of the book. And my teacher from high school, George Schmidt, who was an inspiration for my writing life also, was in the second half of the book. And so we had fun with that, and I think we spent more time like workshopping and correcting each other's stuff than we did actually writing, though. It got to be like, oh, but that comma, and that, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to write. But anyway. So this was back in the day. This was, I think I was living with, actually, Jim Renauer over by St. Francis in a place that Denny Parson owned. Okay.
I know the building.
Yeah. In that little kind of duplex, or I don't know what it was. But anyway, this encapsulates that day, or that evening, I guess. It's called Fire-Eyed Transcendence, and I did a broadside of it. It also comes with a paperweight. Countless days I spent in a foggy, stupefied sleep. And when the cavernous hush was enough, I stirred, pinned my eyeballs to lamplights, that I may drink and dance, and burn a bit the contextual stuffs of the dwelling place, the decomposed tulip, the maudlin love journal, the heavy-laden heart I kept locked up. The wine was port. When the bottle lay empty, I burned its label, catching my legs on fire. But at twilight, my spirit climbed, like a destined spider, the length of an ashen wall. I knew I had to keep moving in the direction of the moonlight and blinking stars, for dreams can only materialize when we can test all concord with our fears. All right, this will be my last piece, and then we'll do an open mic segment, I guess. And appreciate everyone coming out tonight. This is awesome. This is fun. So this one. Well, I don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll play itself out when I read it. Let's see. This was written in grad school under Joe's lineage when we were doing artist books and the Bryce collection and such. And I think I would sit in lectures and just write poetry because they were boring. Not his, but when other lecturers would come in and stuff. So I'd write all these crazy poems. Anyway, this is called Dreams in the Outland. Buck-skinned native shadows dance in hanging gardens with their ant shoo-shoo technique. Emotive skins and skies hang low above neat encampments towards which each gravitates like an exquisite figure or figurine beneath dull and ashen tree lines. Behind them, their sedulous love losses drift like opium trails as they wander into day-long hut prayers with no obvious prime mover, no self-motivation, just practical and practiced endgames full of victorious outcomes. Here, many cloaks and shawls and robes to wash, to beat upon the rocks. Slow wheels civilize this nation. I work, I write, I wash, I sit at a table, work, write, wash, sit at a table. Thanks.
Right. Well, thank you. We have a couple of people who signed up for open mic, but you're stuck with me first. Sorry.
The poet laureate of Toledo.
And I do have things on my phone. Okay. So I'm empty nester just this year. So that's sort of new. That's a new thing, to lose that role that you have. And so this is just a poem that sort of came to me about that. It's called After 20 Years, a Bat circled down from the attic, sliding a little too easily through the ill-cut door into a bedroom both kids insisted was haunted. Now, newly painted to become a writer's office, after the kids moved out and their merciless mother cleared everything, stacking beds in one guest room and whitewashing the other to start what exactly? Her cloistered life of poetry? The beginning of her road to a Pulitzer? Or more likely this bat finding open air, finding a quiet path down a 3-story, 3-bedroom house with nothing but a woman puttering in the kitchen to startle. And if you would like to get rid of the bat in my attic, come over and get rid of him. I don't even know where that guy is now. But, okay, and then, here we go. Okay, so it's a pandemic poem. Sorry. And it's just about, this is like the 2020 pandemic poem. Okay. But there was an anthology, so it got into it, so that's coming out this year, so we're like letting it go. Okay. But this is called In the Year of Perfect Vision, right? 2020. Okay. In the year of perfect vision, we socialized through screens, kept our smiles beneath second skin, and fed our dreams to liquor. We sent our women home, kids inside, men to the porch to wait. In the year of perfect vision, cities cried milk, tears, and glass. The fentanyl streets deepened, grew wider and silent, while eagles returned. Coyotes roamed through suburbia into town. In the year of perfect vision, we lost our heroes slowly. The writers, the teachers, leaders, fathers, mothers, the ones who had shown us a possible universe and our infinite selves. In the year of perfect vision, anger had no place to go but home. Time slowed into loneliness. Days blurred into a season of waiting. Our fears had nothing but each other to attack. In the year of perfect vision, the stock market soared. Books were read and written, puzzles fitted piece by piece across the Midwest. We saw through cameras the real homes of people like us, made new friendships. We cried when Italy cried, stung with the tear gas in Portland, felt the piling ash from Australia, California. We feared hornets and rushed vaccines, fought misinformation from every post and update, and at the end of the year of perfect vision, we had to learn how to continue, go back to life as normal, somehow holding tight to hope's glimmers. A whole world exhausted, anxious, waiting to see when it will end. And here we are, over a year later.
The poem's not done yet.
Nope, that was just that year.
Yeah.
You'll have your own
Good
collection.
Lord. Okay, Dan Denton. Yeah.
Alright. Let's do this one. Excuse me. It's called First You Got To. First you got to get out of bed. So early that your alarm clock yawned mid-ring twice last week. Then you got to work 10 hours in the giant factory where a man's hopes are turned into a handful of dollars. Next you got to mow the lawn that's 3 days past the warranty coupon on its last haircut. Then you got to eat dinner with your wife and her kids or your kids. Then color with crayons or build Lego towers. Then play video games, talk about life with miniature versions of pieces of you. Next, you got to drive the kids home, her kids or your kids, stop and stand in line for ice cream with 27 other families, free to laugh and wait as their favorite TV shows record on digital clouds. Then, you got to take the trash cans out to the curb, watch the dog do his business in the middle of the fucking driveway for the third night in a fucking row. Then, an hour past everyone else's bedtime, you can finally sit down to write.
Oh, that's it.
That was it. You're up, Arnie.
Oh, gosh.
Arnold Koester. It's your time to shine.
Well, I was almost tempted to go out in my car again. I know I put this mask on in the car, so I thought maybe I took my glasses off. And I went there and I couldn't, well, anyway.
Okay.
So I can't read. And you got a request, and it's been a long time since I've done this.
Okay.
And I can't guarantee I'll get through it without, but it's nice not to have a piece of paper to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to look, and so I know this better in some areas than others, but and it's a long poem, kinda. Well, it's not. It was a page and a half or something like that. So I'm going to do my best to do this because you requested it for me. And it's nice to be a one-hit wonder.
Oh, so many hits.
Oh, okay. That was me. I have to slap myself. Okay, don't do that to yourself. Anyway, Them Bones, a dinosaur poem. Them bones, dry bones, dry bones, dry bones. Now hear the words of the lords of the prehistoric, speaking to us from the land before time, a place. Okay, let me. Them bones. Be patient. Now hear the words of the lords of the prehistoric, speaking to us from the land before our time, a place as different from now as another planet. There was land where there is no land, and sea where there is no sea. There was what is not now. We are because of what was. The dinosaurs tell us all beings must die in order for all beings are to live. Their breath, their extinction breathes our breath. no, Harry King Kong Bully is going to tell them what to do. Awesome fear was passed down the evolutionary line to our time. The fear of snakes is the fear of dinosaurs. Dragons and sea serpents were not mythological beasts, but the ghosts of dinosaurs haunting our imagination. I think I did that right. Bones and dry bones. Brought together by our curiosity, towering over us in unmoving grace, I wonder who will be ruling the world. I wonder who will be after our time. Whoever they may be, may their rule be kinder and gentler, war and pollution free. May we be displayed in museums where one speaks softly as if in church. That wasn't right, but I got through it. Them bones, dry bones. The dinosaurs wouldn't die on their own. They needed heaven's help. A meteor or a comet striking the earth, causing nuclear winter. We don't need heaven's help. Intelligence can be stupid. Peanut brain Brontosaurus was an intellectual giant having the sense to survive eons longer than we have yet to begin. Them bones, dry bones left behind like mummies and pyramid, bone and rock, testament to the life after. Testament to the life after our time. Let me try that again. The bones and dry bones left behind like mummies and pyramids, bone and rock, testament to the faith of life after death. Our lives are run by dinosaur life age remains. Monster movie madness. Wait a minute. Oil tankers. Spill, dinosaur revenge, monster movie madness, the blob, the terror from another world of another time. In our need and greed, dinosaurs are more dangerous dead than alive, and we are more dangerous than Godzilla in a china shop. Them bones, dry bones. Now this is going to be the hard one. Them bones, dry bones. Oh gosh. I have to find a starting point. You know what? I'm just going to have to, well, let me think. Can we kill the Earth, transform her into her stillborn twin sister, planet Venus, where carbon dioxide, greenhouse effects, cremates any possibility of life? I can feel the earth alive, wanting to defend itself, pondering the possibility of the mistake of our being. Of our being. We have yet to prove ourselves worthy, yet to pass the bio exam of time, yet to claim the crown of creation or evolution. Our hope for survival lies in this simple reality. We are not better, only later and shorter. Them bones, them dry bones, now stone. I can do, there's another one that I memorized I can do this one. Since birds are kind of present-day dinosaurs, they just sort of miniaturized themselves. And I saw a Cooper hawk today while I was walking in Ottawa Park and stuff like Anyway, this was a magical moment, and I love this. I'll do this a little bit better. Migration between moonrise and sunset, birds fly on invisible highway, over still water we glide under its viaduct. Gentle paddle, watchers swirl to and canoe swish smoothly through paths defined by cattails. Night and day entwine as lovers in this only time. Now together, one with all beauty surrounding. Spotlight moon gelled in pale blue beams through starless scene to lake level, cool, calm reflections of a larger or rather closer circle. Stage right, sun aglow in a fusion of vibrant colors, red, orange, and gold, stretch boldly bright across whole west horizon, streaked by bird flight. Blackbirds resting, ornamenting cattails, thousands of throats chirping, one voice, the call of instinctive duty, gathering in, darting, swerving, swooping, swarming, masses of fluttering exodus. Our thoughts fly with them. How far have they gone? How far will they go? Mexico, Central America, the Amazon. Now is Lake Erie, and now is no place more exotic than this. Okay, that's what I can do.
Awesome. No, that's great. I think Them Bones was one of the first poems I ever heard you do.
Yeah.
Way back when we were in going to Sam and Andy's.
The sub shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't do it perfectly, but
None of us do anything perfect.
Yeah, we don't.
yeah.
So, please, just hang out 10, 15 minutes, talk amongst yourself, drink up all the hot coffee we made, it's good stuff. Have some fabulous cookies that Johnny made, please.
Please, take
Um,
them.
While you're broadside, talk to